With episode 3 coming to a close and episode 4 right around the corner, I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about some of the agents that I think you should be looking out for. I want to talk about 5 agents that aren't the most popular, but do have a great chance of rising to fame for all you solo queuers in the next few months following the new act. Before we get into the main list though, there are a few honorable mentions out there that we want to get out of the way, and those include Jett, Sova, and Yoru. Starting with Jett, although she's a very strong agent and is pretty much guaranteed to be seen play in the next episode, she doesn't really fit what this list is going for. We're trying to look at all the agents that haven't seen as much play, and Jett has just been so popular for so long. I would think that most players would expect to see her, but it's kind of hard to make this list without mentioning her, so there you go. Moving on to the next agent, we're going to be looking at Sova, and just like Jett, he already sees a ton of play, and since his release, he's still the best at info gathering in the game, and I really don't see that changing anytime soon. So again, you will definitely be seeing Sova in the next episode, so he does deserve a mention here. Moving on to the last agent here that we're going to be glossing over is going to be Yoru, and this is for a completely different reason. Although Yoru hasn't seen much play in the past, Riot has confirmed that they are working on a rework for him, and it should release sometime during this next episode. So with that rework coming out, there's a possibility that he can be a top tier agent over the next few patches, and we could potentially start to see him being played more. But since we don't know exactly how strong he is going to be, it would be a little unfair to put him in the main list of agents to watch out for in this next episode, and because of that, he gets a spot here in the honorable mentions. Now without further ado, let's get into the main list. For the first agent on our list that you should be looking out for in episode 4, we have Raze. Raze is a duelist that I personally don't feel like I saw enough in episode 3, and that's mainly due to Jett and Reyna being the top 2 default picks for most players on a lot of the maps. Now I'm not saying that she wasn't a popular pick, but I don't think she was picked as nearly as much as I think she should have or is going to be in the next season. And the reason I believe Raze is going to be an agent that you want to look out for in the next episode is because of champs. Looking back at champions, she really did prove herself to be the most dominant duelist on both maps Split and Bind, with an overall pick rate of just over 60% by pro players. Now the reason Raze is so strong on those maps is because there are so many tight angles and closed areas that her AoE damage can get just so much value from. Her Boombot can pretty much clear half a hookah all on its own, and it's also great for clearing out those pesky rats in U-Haul. There are also so many great spots to nade from on Split, and you can even throw it from heaven on both sites to hit both default plant spots. I've personally been starting to see a lot more Raze on those two maps, and this is most likely going to continue into episode 4. So if you end up queuing in one of these two maps, be aware that it's likely that you could be facing a Raze. And if you're looking to improve quickly at some of these agents in the next episode, why not check out SkillCapped.com. There are courses on every agent in the game created by our Mortal and Radiant level players dedicated to helping you improve. So no matter what role or agent you play, there's a course that'll help you get better at the game, and there's no risk because the website is backed by a rank improvement guarantee. So if you're looking to improve at Valorant as fast as possible, don't forget to check out SkillCapped.com. Now let's get back into the video. Moving on to our second agent to be looking out for in episode 4 is Kayo. Now Kayo is an agent that really hasn't seen much playtime since his release, like at all. And on top of that, he's probably the least picked initiator in the game, just behind Breach. And this is because he doesn't do much to separate himself from the other initiators. Now his flashes are okay, but both Skye and Breach have better ones, and his ability to gather info was outclassed by Sova and Skye, so the only thing he really had going for him was his suppression. And because of that, a lot of the pro teams were opting out of playing him for a while. However, at some point after the buff to his ulti where he can still suppress enemies after he's been knocked down, we're starting to see a little bit more play with him. During Champions, we got to see him being played a lot on maps including Ascent and Breeze, and now we're starting to see solo queuers play him a little bit more. In a meta where utility is so strong, being able to turn it all off for a few seconds to allow your team to get onto a site is just so powerful. Without any abilities, you just don't have any real way to slow down an enemy push, so if Kayo is able to hit a good knife on a player's site, his team can pretty much get that site for free. He's also really good at stalling enemy pushes on defense because a well-timed knife forces the enemy team to make a decision of whether or not they're going to push on without any util or just sit there and wait for the effects of the knife to wear off. Combined with his Malian flash, pushing into him can be very difficult. With that being said though, Kayo's pick rate is still pretty low, but I think you should still keep an eye on him just in case that changes over the next couple months. We're now halfway through the list, and the third pick we have is Breach. Just like Kayo, Breach has always had a lower pick rate, especially in solo queue. Now he has seen some play in the pro scene, and there are some Breach mains out there, but for the most part he really hasn't been a staple pick in the meta. Now I'm not about to tell you that all that's going to change in the next episode, but I will say with the new map Fracture being released, now he has a map where he's a top tier agent. And this can be backed up by the current pro play. Breach is sitting with a comfortable 90% pick rate in games we've seen so far, and there's a great reason for that. With all the boxes everywhere, there are so many great places to flash off of, and the narrow hallways make it really hard to dodge them. Along with that, his Aftershock is also the best ability in the game for checking Killjoy's ultimate, which has some of the strongest and safest spots that it can be placed down on compared to any other map in the game. So not having a breach in your team comp leaves you really susceptible to losing to a Killjoy lockdown every time it's online. So not only is Breach a top tier pick on this map, he has also seen a pretty high pick rate in solo queue and is the 4th most picked agent and the most picked initiator. So if you still don't know which agent you want to play on Fracture, Breach is a great agent to consider picking up, and if you decide not to, you should still be aware that he's going to be a very prevalent character on the map. We're now nearing the end of the list, and the 4th agent we're going to be looking out for in episode 4 is Chamber. Although Chamber is new, he is quite a popular pick with being the 5th most picked agent in Radiant lobbies on all the maps. Along with being the 5th most picked agent, his kit also allows him to be played pretty much on any map, and with the ultimate range on his alarm bots, he can play anywhere on them. His teleporter is also very powerful because it pretty much just gives him a get out of jail free card, similar to Jett's dash. He's also very rewarding to those that have good enough aim with his Q, because it's pretty much an inexpensive sheriff that can one-shot headshot at any range. Not to mention his ultimate, which is also quite powerful, pretty much giving him a free operator. His ulti also makes his team's save rounds dangerous because his op is even stronger than the original since it has much less downtime in between shots, and it also creates an AoE slow if Chamber manages to get a kill. Now, combining all that with the fact that he's really fun to play, I expect to see a lot more use out of him in the next episode. Alright, last but not least, we're going to be looking at Astra. Now, Astra is not a new pick by any means. In fact, she's been a prominent force in the meta for a while now. But the reason she makes this list where agents like Jett and Sova didn't is besides the highest levels of play in solo queue, she wasn't really seeing much playtime in lower ranks. Her kit is very unique in that it relies a lot on teamwork and good coordination to be most effective. So in lower ranks, where a lot of that may be missing, Astra just isn't being played that often. With that being said though, Astra is still definitely the most dominant pure controller in this meta. Now you may be asking, well, what about Omen? Right now, Omen just doesn't compete, and that's mainly due to him just not being in a great spot right now. Because a well-played Astra can just do so much more for the team, and her utility can be played so much better. Now we can't forget about Brim, because Brim does have some good maps that you can compete with Astra on like Bind, but she's still definitely stronger of the two. Now once more players start putting more time in with her, I'm sure we'll start seeing her being trickled down into the lower elos, starting with Diamond, and then Plat, and eventually into Gold. Looking past Gold, I personally doubt we'll see her being a common pick on lower ranks just because she's so difficult to play. And with that being in mind, it's still important to be aware that she's going to be a very strong pick overall. And that concludes this list for the 5 agents we think you should be looking out for in episode 4. Do you agree with our list? Leave a comment letting us know if there are any other agents you think we missed. Also, if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We here at SkillCapped want to give you a huge thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.